video on how to make pizza dough. It's important to assemble your ingredients in the beginning. You will need 1.5 cups of water, yeast, bread flour, salt, honey or brown sugar. Inside my bowl is my 1.5 teaspoon of yeast, and I will be adding the 1 teaspoon of honey, or you can use brown sugar, and 1.5 cups of water. Let that sit for 10 minutes until bubbly, and this is to test to see if your yeast is still working. Here I am adding my honey. A good tip for honey is to heat the spoon or measuring spoon ahead of time so it slides off and you won't have to struggle scraping it off the spoon since it's warm. It will just come off gently. And I add a teaspoon of honey, and like I said, you can also use brown sugar. You need the honey or the sugar to activate the yeast in your pizza dough. Next is my warm water. I microwave for 30 to 45 seconds, and you can test it that if it's ready, it's by touching it with your fingertip. If it feels like bath water, it's not too hot nor too cold, and that should be the right temperature. You want to stir your yeast, honey or brown sugar, and water until you dissolve the yeast completely. I'll be using my KitchenAid, which I use for all of my baked goods. You can also do this by hand. You don't have to use the dough hook on your KitchenAid. You can knead it by hand, and I sometimes do like to do that. It does come out with a softer texture of dough. I just let it rise longer if I do use my KitchenAid. The rising time for this recipe is 1 hour, and I do an additional 30 minutes on the pizza pan. Now that looks like my yeast has been dissolved sufficiently. I will let that bubble, let that rest for the next 10 minutes. If it does bubble, has some foam or froth, then it means that my yeast is active. I'll come back in 10 minutes. Here's a picture of my yeast after 10 minutes. It's nice and frothy. Now it's time for me to add my salt. And I'll be adding 1 teaspoon of salt. And my olive oil, I'll be adding 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Once added, you want to stir that. Once this is done, you will be adding your 3 cups of flour. I have my dough hook on my KitchenAid, and I will start blending that in at number 1. And I'm going to add more more flour. Now test that and see once the dough pulls away from the sides of the bowl, it means it's ready. If it's still wet, you need to add more flour. Well, it seems like we need just a little bit more here. Judging by the way the dough is now curling around my dough hook, that my dough is almost ready. A little bit more. Let me lower the string. Together, and I think this is where I will stop my blender. Here's my finished dough. You want to oil your dough for rising. Once it's done, we'll let that rise for another hour. Here is my 2 pans of pizza dough. I'm on the pizza dough pan, letting it rise and rest for another 30 minutes before I add my toppings and pizza sauce.